Let's go to the next passage. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 11. Right here reads, "For he who sanctifies and those who are sanctified all have one source. That is why he is not ashamed to call them brothers." Now, by context, we have to go back up a few verses to figure out who the he is that we're referring to, because it simply says, "He who sanctifies and he is not ashamed to call them brothers." Well, who is he talking to? If we go back up just a little earlier, looking at verse 9, the writer to the book of Hebrews says, "But we see him who for a little while was made lower than the angels, namely Jesus, crowned with glory and honor because of the suffering of death, so that by the grace of God, he, Jesus, might taste death for everyone." And then in verse 10 it says, "It was fitting that he, for whom and by whom all things exist, in bringing many sons to glory, should make the founder of their salvation perfect through suffering." And that's where we pick up verse 11, "For he who sanctifies." So who's the he who sanctifies us? Verse 9 tells us in no unambiguous terms, it's Jesus. Well, this is the Son. Well, wait a minute. If Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians 5 that God sanctifies us, but the writer to the book of Hebrews tells us in his letter that the Son, Jesus, sanctifies us, then who's the one who sanctifies us? Well, you're beginning to get the picture, right? This is the language of the Bible that leads us to the best practices conclusion that we're dealing with one God who is nevertheless complex in his nature and in his triunity, in his dealings with humankind. He is one God, he's one being, but he's made up of three persons who are independent to the degree that they have separate and unique personalities and dealings with the salvation history of mankind itself. Remember, it's not God the Father who hung on the cross. It's not the Holy Spirit that had nails put through his hands and feet. Right? It wasn't a ghost up there on the cross. So we have to understand the nature of the one God and his interacting with humans as the persons of this one God. One God, three persons.